SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Come see your locally owned and operated Linton Glass for all your glass needs. No matter what glass you need to replace, you can count on Linton Glass. Call us today at 601-835-4336 or find us on the web at lintonglass.com.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man.
Hey, good morning. Welcome. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm, SuperTalk TV, and on your SuperTalk Mississippi radio stations. Glad to be with you as we start this Tuesday morning, the 17th day of June, over the halfway point of the month of June. We're going to blink, and it'll be 4th of July. We'll blink again, and everybody will be headed back to school, and we'll go, where did the summer go? It all goes so fast. The older we get, the faster time moves, and yet we just keep on plugging. Richard Cross and Lance Tolbert in studio. The C Spire text line is open to you this morning, 601-879-4395. Give your business the edge with gigabit fiber internet. Really, really fast internet, but an entire business IT solutions team available to you through C Spire. Help your business run its best with C Spire, inspired by you. Good morning, Lance Tolbert.
Good morning, Richard. How's it going on the road today, man? You got a big day
Good,
seeing off your beautiful daughter. And ought to be a fun time.
My oldest daughter's going on a trip, and it was, well, we kind of decided it made the most sense from a schedule standpoint for me to bring her to the airport, and so we came up yesterday, early flight yesterday morning. I was texting you way earlier than normal on the way to the airport yesterday, and then I'll be home.
This dude's up and at 'em.
Yeah. There was a day off joke to be made there.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, well, we had a good
got
one.
up earlier than normally. Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, we had a good one.
Sure.
I threw out the new cologne that you are coming. I mean, yesterday was the launch date of Vacations by Richard Cross. So yeah, that was our the lone vacation joke, but it did go over well. So.
Well, I'm so glad. So glad. Yeah, so New York, and went to a Yankees game last night. It was fun.
Wow, yeah, man, what a place. Now, you're
really,
a Yankees fan to
really
begin
cool.
with, so.
I am. That was the second time I have been to the stadium. First time I've been to a game there. Because the previous first time, this was years and years ago, Jane and I were in New York, and made kind of a last-minute decision. Hey, let's go to a Yankees game. It was a Sunday afternoon, and I've always been pretty savvy with tickets, but I made the rookie mistake ever. Got off the subway, bumped into a guy, good deal on tickets, paid cash for him, walked to the gate, hit him with the scanner, and got the little noise that it makes. Bought counterfeit tickets.
No,
and then I went trying to chase after the guy. Like, what am I going to do if I run him down at this little convenience store at the corner next to the subway? I go busted in the door. I'm like, where is he? They're like, no habla inglés. I'm like, well, how convenient that is. So probably just as well that I didn't find him. So, yeah, last night was the actual first time. Got a pitcher's duel.
What a game, too.
Scoreless. Went to the 11th, 1-0. It's kind of cool, though. Got to see Aaron Judge. Giancarlo Stanton was back for the first time. Clark Schmidt, the former Arkansas pitcher, twirled a dandy for the Yankees. Mike Trout is a massive human being. He was DHing last night for the Angels. So somebody says, I see you didn't buy tickets from the guy off the street this time. No, I did not do that this time. Not at all. It's crazy. So here, the high temperature yesterday was like 66, kind of cloudy and overcast and breezy and a little cool. And I was talking to Jane back home, and not so much. In Oxford, more rain yesterday, oppressive humidity, knocking around 90. Here's what we got today for your weather forecast. Tupelo, thunderstorms likely this morning, then a chance of scattered thunderstorms in the afternoon, high around 85. Winds out of the south-southwest at 10 to 15, chance of rain 90%. Over the Delta, south part of the Delta, Hollandale, you got rain showers early with some sunshine later in the day, 89 degrees with winds out of the south-southwest. About a 50% chance of rain there in Hollandale, Decatur. Scattered thunderstorms this morning, mainly cloudy during the afternoon with thunderstorms likely. 84 for your high, 70% on the rain. And Macomb, maybe a little better here. Overcast, rain showers at times, 86 degrees, 40% chance of rain. Lance, I looked this up last night because it feels like it has rained nonstop in Oxford, where I am. And I was kind of curious about some other parts of the state. Other places are about on average for what they would normally get for the entire month of June. Maybe just a little below. Oxford has already got an inch and a half more rain through 16 days in June, 17 days in June, than normally it gets for the entire month. Average is 5.22 inches in the month of June, and already has gotten 6.72. Make it stop raining.
Yeah, well, the flowers are loving it, but everybody else is waterlogged. I know I am. I mean, I'm the mosquitoes and the gnats and the soggy ground and the wet dogs and everything's just it needs a break. You need a few days of sunshine. I went through a place last night to get a burger, and it was a little later, about 9. I kept waiting on the LSU game to come back on. I thought, I don't think this thing's coming back on. And so I ran and get a burger, and the girl in the little window, she's like, "Man, it's just this rain." I'm like, "I know, it's terrible. I can't get in a good mood. I mean, I get in a good mood for this, but as soon as you leave and you go, man, I get a little bit of an afternoon. Nope. It's just going to be hot, humid, and it's going to rain. And it looks like we may get a little bit more of that today, too."
Yep. Really much of the state of Mississippi with a chance of that. Barry Manilow is 82 years old today, born in 1943, the American pop singer and piano player. Can you call Barry Manilow a pop singer?
Yeah, I mean, love songs.
Yeah.
Such, but I don't know. I guess so. I guess you could.
Copacabana.
Yeah.
Mandy, Daybreak, I Write the Songs. Born in New York City, Barry Manilow. The other guy that was born on this day in 1943, also 82 years old today, American politician Newt Gingrich, Speaker of the House from 1995 to 1997, born in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. He was a representative from Georgia. You remember the famous or infamous contract with America? You had the big red wave, and they said, we're going to get a lot done in the first 100 days, and they did. They actually kind of held up their end of the bargain on that deal.
Isn't that the first group that shut down government under Clinton when they couldn't get the budget balanced, and Newt and them held tight and had a little government shutdown there for a minute?
Yeah. You remember Dan Jansen? 60 years old today, 1965, an American speed skater, 3-time gold medalist in the Olympics, won it in 84, 88, and again in 92. Born in West Allis, Wisconsin. Speed skating in the Olympics is
amazing.
One of the coolest things to watch.
My favorite winter event, yeah.
Big old long blade on the bottom of those, that kind of lean in. It's just so graceful.
And the legs look like 100-year-old oak trees. Those things are massive. And they're so fast and so smooth and just glide around there at 158 miles an hour without any padding or anything. So it's amazing watching those speed skaters. I love the giant slalom or whatever the big jump is, too. The wipeouts are the best. But when you see somebody land one and you're like, man, that's impressive.
That was pretty good. That was, yeah. But when they don't land it,
that's the highlight reel there.
Venus Williams, born on this day in 1980. She is 45, one of the greatest women's tennis players of all time. Just a remarkable story. Turned pro when she was 1994. So she was 14 years old when she turned pro. A couple of Australian Open titles, won the French, won Wimbledon 5 times, a couple of U.S. Open victories as well. And, of course, the older sister of Serena Williams.
You kind of knew the young one was going to be good, too, when the older sister, they practiced all the time together, and they played together all the time. I remember my freshman year in college seeing the older one play, and I'm like, yep, this is a star. Was she 20? No, she was 14. Yeah. Girl was something else, man. They were.
Well, and Venus burst onto the scene first, and you're like, oh, I feel bad for little sister. Mm-hmm. And then the little sister grew just a little bit more, and all of a sudden she was real good. Real good. Got some stuff that has happened on this day in history. We'll take a look at that when we come back, especially some music things. Then we'll get into the news headlines. Oh, man. Is there anything going on in the world?
Not really.
It is, my goodness, it is really hard to keep up right now. But we will help you do just that. We're going to help you keep up. Glad to be with you this morning. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Just getting started.
Right. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Good to be with you. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV. Thanks for joining us alongside Lance Tolbert. I'm Richard Cross. You want to be part of the conversation? You can join us on the C-Spire text line at 601-879-4395. We'll get to it in sports in a second. You mentioned that LSU UCLA got postponed last night. The Barstool Twitter accounts for the two schools kind of going at each other a little bit. Barstool UCLA posted weather delay in Omaha. That means Big Thunder go boom boom in Louisiana terms. So Barstool LSU responded, in California terms, that means people are outside hugging trees and begging Mother Nature not to hurt them.
Getting heated over yonder, huh?
Point, counterpoint. Yeah. Got a lot to get to this morning, and we're glad to be with you. A couple of things that happened on this day in history. In 1631, we began the process of one of the 7 wonders of the world. Mumtaz Mahal dies during childbirth. Her husband, Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan I, then spends the next 20 years building her tomb. I'm assuming they put the body somewhere during the 2 decades of construction.
Yeah, they had ice back then, right?
That tomb was called the Taj Mahal. And it is still one of the great beauties. You ever seen the Taj Mahal?
I mean, not in person.
You ever been overseas?
No.
Yeah. I've never been. I've got friends that have been to India and say just absolutely amazing. So, started a 20-year process.
Yeah, 20 years.
And you get frustrated with a year-long building project.
I get frustrated with something that's 2 hours. So, at some point, I'm like, man, I got to go do something else.
I can't get these Legos to click together.
20 years, man? Come on. That's pretty dedicated, though. And as you said, I mean, you hope that wasn't there supposed to be, isn't there a black one and a white one that he was building? When there were 2? He was building one for himself and one for her. The white one was for him. I mean, for her, and the black one was for him. I don't know. I can't remember the whole story.
I'm not a what? Did he run out of marble?
I think he died.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know if he ended. I don't know the whole story, but I thought there was supposed to be 2, a black one and a white one. So
did they put him in the?
I don't know.
Did they put him in the?
Yeah, I don't know.
The one that was finished, or did he just get a regular old hole in the ground?
Yeah, I think maybe they gave him a tomb that was a wooden box. So yeah, he's good. But I think
on this
that was
day in
the story.
1885, the Statue of Liberty arrives in New York City aboard the French ship Isir. Did I say that right?
You're better at the French
We'll
than
go with
I
that.
am, yeah.
I mean, we could go with the southern pronunciation, Isiri,
I can say.
but I think Isir.
I know my number one saying in French is yes, no, yes, no. So that's all the French I know. Yes, no.
On this day in 1962, in United States Open men's golf, Jack Nicklaus won his first major title by 3 strokes in an 18-hole playoff with Arnold Palmer. How about that?
Yeah.
Jack would go on to win 18 majors. And
Were they playing
Arnold Palmer.
playing with like feather balls back then, and real wood clubs? Yeah, that was the tech has changed a little bit in golf.
32 years later, Arnold Palmer would play in his final major. We'll get to that coming up to start the 7 o'clock hour, because this is a remarkable day on the sports calendar. We'll remind you about June 17th, 1994, at the beginning of the 7 o'clock hour. On this day in 1973, Dolly Parton recorded her song, I Will Always Love You. Later signed off on Whitney Houston singing it. I mean, everybody loves Dolly, but everybody kind of loves Whitney too. And that is one of the best 1-2 punches on the same song ever.
Oh, and The Bodyguard, what a great movie too. Super soundtrack there. Kevin Costner, Whitney Houston.
Yeah. Probably not quite as big, but another hit that came out on this day in 1978. Actually, it just reached its highest point on the charts on this day in 1978. For a song that only makes it to number 32 on the charts, can you think of one that is known by more people than Jimmy Buffett's Cheeseburger in Paradise?
Only 32?
Yeah, it's as high as it got. And yet, do you know anybody that doesn't like theirs with pickles and tomato, Heinz 57, and French fried
tomatoes? French fried potatoes.
French fried tomatoes?
No, potatoes. My mouth ain't working perfect this morning yet, but yeah, French fried potatoes. Now, I mean, who doesn't know that song? Who doesn't love that song? And I mean, it makes you want a cheeseburger.
Big kosher pickle and a cold draft beer.
Yeah, I'm in. Count me in.
This day in 1991. How about this story? The body of the 12th president of the United States, Zachary Taylor, is exhumed to. Do you remember that Zachary Taylor was a president of the United States? I feel like that's one of the lesser known. But anyway, he is exhumed to test how he died. Rumors persisted since his death in 1850 of arsenic poison. And so somehow, 61 years later, they decided, you know what? We ought to dig that cat up and run some tests to see if he was actually poisoned by arsenic. No evidence of that found.
It says death from cherries.
If not that there would be any reason, like even if you were just curious, if I've been gone from this earth for 61 years, even if the circumstances of my passing are curious, at 6 decades, can we just kind of let it go and just let my remains be? I mean, I don't really care what you do with me at that point. I don't know one way or the other, but like, just move on. Feels like that's enough time.
Yeah, well, when you die from eating cherries and iced milk from food poisoning, it's a pretty rough way to go, I imagine, as well. So, yeah, that was maybe later. Something wasn't right here, but cholera was really the cause, is what I always remembered, and went and looked it back up, and it was exactly what was said: cholera morbus, the death from food poisoning. Boy, that
not to be
a
confused
terrible way
with
to go.
Arsenic.
Yeah, that'd be a terrible way to go. Goodness gracious.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, some news headlines for you this morning. The strife in the Middle East rolls on. Israel and Iran. They had a bombing yesterday. Did you see the clip of this? Israel struck Iran's state-run television station.
Oh yeah, I watched the lady
during a live broadcast. Yeah, I mean she's just talking,
Hollering.
and And it's state-run media, so she is waving the Iranian flag figuratively in her news broadcast when all of a sudden it looks like
everything starts shaking,
earthquake, and dust starts shaking, and stuff starts falling. And
you got to give her credit; she got out of there quick too. I mean, like she knew something was up fast. She like looked up and went, "I'm out."
She had no interest in being a journalistic hero at that point.
Yes.
None.
Did you watch the
Israel
Netanyahu
launched
deal?
Which part?
Well, the ABC special and the big interview yesterday.
I have seen clips of it, and I have read. I did not watch it in its entirety.
It's very informative.
Yeah, and I mean you're talking about the conversation where he mentions the 2 assassination attempts on Trump.
Yeah, well, I mean, I thought that Netanyahu kind of, he was very focused, probably the most I've seen him in any speech. He stuck to cause, man. He was on it, and really was focused on the nuclear capabilities and the long-range rockets that they have, and that if we allow this to continue, it's going to get here. And he just kept going with that and going back to that. And I found it to be a very good look for him, because he was very confident in exactly what they know and how long they've known it and what's going to happen if something isn't done about it.
Yeah, and I'm paraphrasing. I don't have his exact quote in there, but he said, like, I understand America first. Like, I understand that is Donald Trump's rally cry right now, America first. But there won't be an America.
He said, America first or America dead.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That was the quote. America first or America dead. Yeah. Iran launched airstrikes, drones at Iran throughout the day yesterday, while Iran fired pre-dawn missiles. Here's the thing, though. Israel is running a very calculated, very disciplined military, like coordinated military strike. Just pinpoint accuracy and precision of Iranian targets. And Iran looks like the drunk guy with a machine gun, just sitting back going, like just spraying missiles and bullets any direction. And the human toll from that is heavy. There is no regard for casualties. There is no regard for civilians. You are fighting a war with an enemy that has a completely different mindset. They don't care. Don't care who they kill. Don't care how they die. Don't care about the suffering. But that's not new news. Not if you've been following along with Iran and what they sponsor. We're back after this.
Good morning, everybody. Time to wake up.
Time to shine!
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Well, we ride around this old town in my beat-up car.
And a new Ford 150.
Sing to me, Christopher. C-Spire text line 601-879-4395. About the rain. Sorry, God's helping me with the garden since Mom broke her hip. Well, it ought to be growing well. We get another one. This from 901. That's a West Tennessee number.
Yeah, thank you.
Kind of an old school West Tennessee number.
901. Gotta love that.
And says, picked this yesterday. The veggies from the garden look fantastic. We got some squashes. We got some peppers. Got some cucumbers, I believe. See a cantaloupe in the background?
Ooh.
That is a nice haul right there. Beautiful. Man, you like fresh vegetables in the summertime.
Are you kidding me? I grew up with my grandfather and grandmother, they had a watermelon farm down in Smith County. And then my mama and papa were farmers, so yeah, I kind of grew up with the good stuff. We didn't leave McGee, Mississippi without some frozen peas and vegetables.
There you go.
Down there, you always had fresh stuff to eat, too, and always a watermelon rolling around somewhere and cantaloupes everywhere. So, yeah, I grew up with that. I love it.
You know what I've never done before? I was talking to my brother who lives in Texas. I guess this is probably pretty readily available where he is. But he told me he was thinking about buying a half share of a cow.
Yeah, why not? I know up in Oxford there were people that were doing that.
That there were people that did that for a while in Oxford, and I intended to do it and just kind of haven't, but he said it averages out to about $6 a pound for the meat, like, from ground beef to fillets, because of the quantity you get. And he said a half share was about, I can't remember if he said 60 or 80 pounds of ground beef. It's all, grass-fed, grain-finished, local source, the whole deal. And you just got to give them your cuts order. Do what?
I said you can even know the name of the cow you're eating. Old Blue over there. That's the one we picked out.
If you want to name it, babe, the Blue Ox, you can do exactly that. But anyway, that's if you got the place to store the meat, that's a pretty appealing way to
go buy you a freezer.
Take care of it.
Go get a freezer, stick it out in the make sure it's on backup generator, because when those things go out and you lose all of your that's never fun. Had that happen a few times with freezer fulls of deer meat. On so many levels, that's not fun, including the level where you don't know the freezer goes out and you find out a few days later. You just think you've smelled bad things in your life. Cleaned up a mess. Yeah, that's understatement.
Oh. Jim and Ripley says Richard looks like he's being interrogated. Yeah. But, knock on wood, I shouldn't say this out loud, our connection is better today than it was the last time we did this. So we will sacrifice. Yeah, I get the curtains with the light shining on me. I can't figure out the video thing without all the lights to make it look like it's supposed to.
You're in a black site. You're in a CIA black site. It's all right. We can't tell anyone where
CC
you are.
in Senatobia. I don't know that I've ever agreed with CC more than I do right now. He says, dude in Boston said Israel is wicked smart. Man, I was texting with some buddies the other day, and I said, I hope I don't ever get on the bad side of Israel and Mossad, because those are some bad, bad dudes.
Well, got to protect yourself, man.
Bad dudes.
They're in a position there where it's been a while, and not anybody around them really, has given them a whole lot of peace and quiet. So, the many years, 60 years of figuring out how all this stuff works over there. Yeah, I mean, they're experts at it. They're the best. The things that they've been able to do, the surgical strikes that they've been able to perform, and they go back to the cell phone deal. I mean, wow, it was ingenious. Yeah, it's amazing what they're doing, though. Whether you agree with them or not, their precision has been second to none.
I didn't realize that it was my buddy Kevin that texted us pictures from the garden. And I was the beneficiary of some of that harvest last week.
What did you get to eat on?
Squash and cucumbers and some peppers.
It's hard to beat fresh squash.
Oh, man, yummy.
I can eat the peppers just straight off the vine. I grew a ton of different ones last year. I haven't been overly motivated this year. I don't know why, but I had so many peppers last year. I was just eating them off the vine, just grab them and eat them up. I couldn't get my tomatoes to do what I wanted. Not too bad. You get the really hot ones, but the banana peppers and those, just eat them straight up.
President Trump abruptly left the Group of Seven summit yesterday, departing a day early as the conflict between Israel and Iran intensifies. World leaders had gathered in Canada with the specific goal of helping to diffuse a series of global pressure points only to be disrupted by the showdown over Iran's nuclear program. There are more and more people that say the coming days are bear watching. There is a lot of uncertainty with where this is headed. Trump has been pretty consistent. He has said it over and over and over. And you are left to, I feel like there's so many people that have decided, there's ambiguity. What is it that it means when Trump says Iran can't have a nuke? Iran can't have a nuke. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. He said it over and over, and it's not new. It's not as part of this particular campaign. It's not from a You got to go back to the time that he was on the campaign to be president of the United States when asked about Iran. They can't have a nuke. It destabilizes the entire Middle East. And the problem is the way they look at the world. through their religious viewpoint, their political viewpoint, the supreme leader, the Revolutionary Guard, the Ayatollah, all the stuff in Iran. The difference in them and even a crazy actor like Russia or a crazy actor like China or even a crazy actor like North Korea. India sees no problem with actually using a nuke. Largely, globally, possession of a nuclear weapon is a deterrent. It is, I've got the trump card, no pun intended. And so whatever it is that's going on, I got the trump card, I win. We can fight, we can shoot missiles back and forth at each other, but at the end of the day, this is going to stop because I win. Iran's looking at the thing totally differently. They just want to get there so they can wipe Israel off the face of the earth. And anybody arguing, oh, well, Israel shouldn't have done what they've done, it's a silly argument, because when you have a bully who tells you, I'm going to destroy you, I'm going to destroy you, I'm going to destroy you, and they've done everything they possibly can do to destroy you, and they've got this one thing over here that actually would destroy you, that they haven't been able to quite get the recipe just right. But they've tried everything else they've got with the sole intent of wiping you off the face of the earth. But you think if they finally get that recipe just right, they're not actually going to use it? They're going to use it the second they've got it available. And that's where you are. Israel has targeted multiple Iranian nuclear program sites, but has not been able to destroy Iran's Fordo uranium enrichment facility. That's the one that's buried half a mile into a mountain. And this becomes the big question, right? How involved is the United States going to be? And the question is really, it's pretty singular at this point. It's not about jets. It's not about missiles. It's not about aid. It's about a bomb and a delivery mechanism for that bomb. It's that simple.
Well, and that's been, yeah.
It's now about the B-2 stealth bomber and its ability to carry the massive ordnance penetrator, the MOP bomb, as it's called, a 30,000-pound bunker buster.
Iran's been working on this since about 1979, so it's not like it just started yesterday. They've been upset for a long time. Khomeini and his rule have been authoritarian. The reason you overthrew the Shah, authoritarian regime, I mean, not much has changed. And when you have this amount of history that is, continues to bubble and be stirred, they're mad, man, and they're not going away.
You know how the United States and Canada have been kind of rattling each other's cages for the last little bit? Mm-hmm. I appreciate the simmering of tensions just for a moment. Trump posed for a picture Monday night with the other G7 leaders and then said simply, I have to be back. It's very important. And Mark Carney, the new Prime Minister of Canada, graciously said, I am very grateful for the president's presence, and I fully understand. That was the end of it. Yeah. Trump was like, I got to go to work. Yeah, I came. I got to go. And Carney, he was like, I get it. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, and Trump's out of there before they start shaking him down for some more money, too. He's like, all right, I'm out.
We've got a whole lot more coming up for you. We'll get to some sports headlines and lottery update. That's coming up next. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Good Tuesday morning to you.
Say careless how I feel, but how many of you that sit and judge me ever walk the streets of Bakersfield?
From the Venable Glass.
Start your day right.
Good morning, America, how are you?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Thanks for being with us on this Tuesday morning, the 17th of June. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. Glad to have you along for the ride. You want to join the conversation? You can do that on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. Looking for game-changing technology? Then you need C Spire on your team. 5G wireless, fiber home internet, and business IT solutions built as tough as your defense. Or defense, if you prefer. Learn more at cspire.com. C Spire, inspired by you. Our look at the Mississippi Lottery. No jackpot winner for Lotto America. The estimated jackpot for tomorrow's drawing, $2.2 million. The estimated cash value, $990,000. Monday's numbers 4, 19, 35, 43, 51 with a star ball of 1 and an all-star bonus multiplier of 3. Jackpot creeping up, $101 million now for the June 18th drawing. That's tomorrow night. $45.7 million is the cash value. Powerball numbers from Monday, 17, 21, 23, 27, 52. Powerball is 19. The power play multiplier is 5.
Well, double play the numbers from Monday the 16th, 32, 42, 52, 55, 56. Can't believe somebody didn't get that one, huh? Powerball of 18, yeah. Mega Millions up to $280 million for the jackpot drawing tonight, Tuesday the 17th. Estimated cash value on that is $126.1 million. And the numbers from the last drawing, Friday the 13th, 8, 10, 22, 40, 47, and 1 with a mega ball of 1.
No jackpot winner for the Mississippi Match 5. Tonight's estimated jackpot, $89,000. Monday night's drawing, 20, 21, 24, 26, 32.
Well, Monday, cash $3 $500 midday numbers 129, evening 108. Cash for $5,000 midday drawing 2081. Evening numbers 3215. Fireball of 0 with a cash pop of 14 in the midday. The evening fireball of 8 with a cash pop of 11.
Only 2 NASCAR Powerball drawings remaining. The next drawing takes place this Thursday, June 19th. 3 winners will each take home $2,000. All winners will qualify for the National NASCAR Powerball Playoff, racing toward $1 million grand prize and a chance to attend the NASCAR Champions Series. You got until 9 a.m. on Thursday morning to enter, to sign up for the promotion. Got to be a lottery insider. Go to mslottery.com to become a lottery insider. Don't forget, with the sizzling summer cash bonus promotion, you can enter any non-winning hot game. That's the $2 heat stroke, the $5 blazing hot bucks, and the $10 red hot cash into the lottery's newest bonus promotion, sizzling summer cash. That is for your chance to win prizes ranging from $500 gift cards all the way up to $25K in cold, hard cash. Let's look at some winners.
Well, cash 4 winners. We had a bunch of them. Players from Columbus, Wagaman, Louisiana, Indianola, each won $800. 2 Aberdeen women both won $800 on tickets from Shell 45 and Sprint Mart in Aberdeen. A Listman, Alabama man won $1,015 on a ticket purchased over in Meridian. Hattiesburg man, $21.95 on 2 tickets from Be Quick 15 in Hattiesburg. And a Ridgeland man won $2,500 on a ticket from Bolton Chevron in Bolton. And finally, on the cash 4, players from Carthage and Kruger each won $2,600 on tickets from Neighbors Market in Canton and Chula One Stop in Chula.
Had a cash pop winner on a scratch-off from Benton who won $2,500 on a ticket from Orbit Discount Store in Yazoo City. Match 5 winner had players from Canton, Sauget, and Fayette all that won $1,000. You had a $10,000 winner on the $10 scratch-off, 50X the money. Jasper, Alabama woman, thanks for visiting, won $10,000 on a ticket from Racetrack in Gulfport. And then a $10 Diamond White scratch-off, $10,000 as well. That's your update from the Mississippi Lottery. Find them online at mslottery.com. Now we got a sports update for you. Our sports update is brought to you by Pearl River Resort. They got all kinds of great stuff happening at Pearl River Resort. Your sports update brought to you by them every morning. Visit them online, pearlriverresort.com, your destination for casino thrills, family fun, and live entertainment. They're going to restart Game 7 of the College World Series at 11 o'clock this morning. UCLA and LSU playing last night when the rains came in Omaha, and they had to postpone. LSU in front in that ball game 5-3 Arkansas's Gage Wood had a no-hitter, the third in College World Series history yesterday. 19 strikeouts in Arkansas's 3-0 win over Murray State. Clock struck midnight on the Cinderella story that was the Murray State Racers. Heck of a run for them. They're now 49-14, Arkansas is. They play another elimination game tonight against the loser of that UCLA-LSU game that, again, is at 11 o'clock this morning. Oklahoma City took a 3-2 lead in the NBA Finals, the 120-109 win last night over Indiana. It's been a good series. I don't know if anybody's watching or not, but it has certainly been a good series so far. Got an Olympic sport update from the NCAA Track and Field Championships. We'll give you that coming up a little bit later this morning. Up next, though, we will revisit the events of June 17th, 1994. What a day that was. That's coming up next. Got guests coming your way this morning as well.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Good morning. Good morning to you there.
Okay, up and at 'em.
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Jimmy Buffett, we love you. Thank you so much for coming
Jimmy
on.
Fallon.
I know, Jimmy and Jimmy right here.
Right, yeah.
You were saying, well, I sang Margaritaville for the first time on The Tonight Show.
That's right.
With Johnny Carson.
Yeah, 41 years ago, your staff looked 41 years.
Do you remember going on Carson?
Oh, yes.
Since you were talking about Cheeseburger in Paradise.
Like it was a course. When I got on, they were not very kind of friendly to me. They said, listen, the one thing you can't do is stop, because Johnny doesn't like it when you stop. And so I'd studied. I said, well, I'm going to do Margaritaville. And he said, you'll never go to the desk. Maybe he does it sometimes. But in case he waves you, then you walk over. But it's not going to happen.
Anyway, thanks for being here.
Had to play that, man. We were talking about Cheeseburger in Paradise earlier, and I love a little history. And Buffett, he's my man, dude. Goodness gracious.
Oh, he was the best. Did you ever see him in concert?
No, I didn't. I've seen so many of them, recorded that I just never had an opportunity to see him in person. But that's one of those things. Heartbreaker. Never saw the Grateful Dead original act in person. Had tickets, and never got to see Jimmy Buffett. Those are the two that, if you had to do it over again, that would be two do-overs for me.
First time I saw Jimmy Buffett in concert was Columbia, South Carolina. No, that's not right. First time I saw him was in Atlanta at the outdoor amphitheater there. And then I saw him in Columbia, South Carolina, and then saw him in Atlanta again at Phillips Arena. So I got to see 3 Buffett
Phillips
shows.
is a great spot, too, yeah.
It is. Yeah, good spot. This hour of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services plus a custom plan that fits you. Give them a call today, 601-206-7966, 601-206-7966, or go to MWGEmployerServices.com. June 17th is one of those where were you when days. June 17th, 1994. It is one of the most incredible days in American history, kind of pop culture history, and sports all rolled into one. There is a documentary that has been made. It was the ESPN 30 for 30 documentary. There are actually a couple of documentaries from ESPN that have made about that particular day. Here's what was happening. Arnold Palmer was playing his final round at the 1994 U.S. Open, and he had come off the course. There was a rain delay that day, and they were scheduled to interview. Mark Rolfing was scheduled to interview Arnold Palmer coming off the course after his final major golf round. But it got pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. Coverage was supposed to end at 5 o'clock Eastern time because you also had the commencement of the 1994 FIFA World Cup, which was happening in the United States. And you had Bill Clinton there and Oprah Winfrey there. They were the presiding over the ceremony. And the producer said, hey, we got to kill the Arnold Palmer interview. And Mark Rolfing said, okay, I understand. But then he saw Arnold Palmer walking right up to him, and he ignored his producers and got one of the great kind of coming off the course all-time interviews. It actually pushed back the start of World Cup coverage. That just doesn't happen in television, especially like an event like that. It would be like you're leaving a basketball game to go to coverage of the Super Bowl, and yet the basketball broadcast does not cede its time because there's an interview with Michael Jordan that just kind of organically happened. Part of that U.S. Open coverage included the replay of a commercial from the 1970s for Hertz, the rental car company, that included both Arnold Palmer and O.J. Simpson, who were both spokespeople for Hertz. You got to remember, O.J. Simpson in 1994 was still a wildly popular figure. So you had the World Cup going on. The New York Rangers had their ticker tape parade that day in New York City. It was the first time that they had won a Stanley Cup final since the early 80s, and they have not won one since. You had Game 5 of the 1994 NBA Finals between the Houston Rockets and the New York Knicks, and NBC affiliates that night split their coverage between the game and the freeway chase that was happening in Los Angeles, with Tom Brokaw narrating the split-screen coverage of the finals and the chase in Los Angeles. And you had Ken Griffey Jr. tying Babe Ruth's record for the most home runs before June 30th and the team's 65th game of the 1994 MLB season. So that's what was happening in real time. What about the aftermath, the fallout? Well, the U.S. Open concluded 3 days later with Ernie Els winning a three-way playoff for the U.S. Open title. The World Cup did not conclude until July 17th, when Brazil won its fourth World Cup title. But the United States, you may remember, defeated Colombia, and that was the spawning of the ESPN 30 for 30 documentary called The Two Escobars, which followed Colombia men's national player Andres Escobar, who scored an own goal for the United States. That's where, the opponent scores in the home team's goal. That happened on June 22nd. Escobar was murdered in Colombia on July 1st, reputedly by cartel-connected hitmen who were enraged about his error that led Colombia being eliminated from the World Cup. The Rangers would not make another Stanley Cup final until the first meeting between teams from New York and Los Angeles for a major professional sports championship since 1981 in the World Series, when the team lost to the Kings 4-1, and they haven't been to the World Cup final since. Houston won the NBA Finals in Game 7. That Major League Baseball season was wild because on August 11th, the season came to an end with a strike, and they didn't return until 1995 for the regular season. And you got the documentary O.J. Made in America, won the Academy Award for Best Documentary 23 years after the chase. That was produced by ESPN. Of course, O.J. Simpson died last year at the age of 76, 30 years after the infamous chase. Do you remember that day, Lance?
Oh, yeah. No, that was my college, sophomore year, and with the name Lance, and the judge's name was Lance Ito.
Lance Ito.
Yeah, so I got a lot of that for a while. But yeah, that was a big day in sports, but one of the more strange and bizarre days in American history. And
were you playing summer ball? Where were you that year?
I can't remember. Was it 94?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I have to go back and look at that. It might have been Auburn, yeah. But, yeah, it was, 94 and 93, 94. That was like summerish, Yeah.
Yeah, summer 94.
I think I was in D.C. playing in a wooden bat league up there in the Clark Griffith League after my freshman year. So, but, yeah, all that started blowing up. And you're like, what in the world is all this? Because we'd never seen anything like that. That was just something else. And then your hero, the guy that you always looked at and said, man, this guy was one of the best of all time. And all of a sudden, he's in the back of a white Bronco and a low-speed chase on the L.A. freeways with cops, quarter mile back going, don't mess with him, don't mess with him, and Al Cowling. I mean, it was just the weirdest story, honestly. And then it all starts coming together. But, yeah, it took a little while for it all to start adding up.
Man, it was a wild day, no doubt. C-Spire text line open to you, 601-879-4395. CC in Senatobia, going back to our cow conversation about shares of buying a cow, he said, always hear that grass beef thing. What in the heck else are they going to eat? Are some cows getting junk food like Skittles and Cheetos as opposed to being grass-fed?
They get grain, yeah.
I told CC only the ones that qualify for SNAP.
Yeah, some cows eat grain, some eat the grass. You want the grass. That's actually no processed anything in there. So
Thomas's meme game is strong this morning. He said, never-ending feud continues. This No Kings protest may have actually been sponsored by McDonald's, making reference to Burger King.
Wow.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a deep conspiracy theory there.
That is a deep cut. No doubt. Always glad to hear from you. Where were you on this day in 1994? I mentioned we've got guests coming up this morning. We are going to visit with State Representative Stacey Wilkes coming up in just a little bit from the Mississippi House of Representatives, District 108. The PBM conversation continues. Stacey Wilkes has recently been removed as chair of the Drug Policy Committee due to some of her advocation of changes to the PBM structure. We'll talk with her about that and other things that are going on during the off-season for the session. Scott Coopwood will join us in the 8 o'clock hour. We've got the Mississippi Top 40 Under 40 coming up. Of course, Scott with Delta Magazine, Delta Business Journal, and the Mississippi Business Journal as well. We've got one of our own that is going to be receiving an award. Look forward to telling you about that also. Whole lot more coming your way. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Good Tuesday morning to you. Thanks for being with us.
From the Venable Gladby.
Wake up! Wake up! Rise and shine!
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross.
Nice early morning surprise.
On Super Talk, Mississippi.
Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget you can be part of the conversation on the C-Spire text line at 601-879-4395. Ready for your winning strategy? Here it is. Join C-Spire. All the technology and support you need to succeed at home, at work, and everywhere else. Visit cspire.com today. C-Spire, inspired by you. Lance Tolbert in the studio. I'm Richard Cross. We're glad to have you along for the ride on this Tuesday morning, the 17th of June. And glad to welcome in our first guest this morning. That guest is Representative Stacey Wilkes from the Mississippi House of Representatives, District 108. Good morning, Representative Wilkes. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm great. How are you?
Doing well. Appreciate you coming in.
Thanks for asking me.
Yeah, one of the conversations that we found during this past session that elicited more passion than any other was the conversation surrounding PBMs, pharmacy benefit managers. We heard from small business owners, pharmacy owners, independent pharmacies all across the state of Mississippi, from the State Pharmacy Board and others, advocating that we needed a change to the system, that they could not continue in the way that they have been operating. We heard from the other side, representing maybe the larger business community, that perhaps we didn't exactly need change, and it might lead to higher costs. And ultimately, we ended with, I guess, without any significant resolution to this. I know this is something you've been very involved with. Kind of give us an overview of where you stand on this PBM issue and what's going on in the legislature and what you see as the future.
Okay. Well, it is. It's a very complex subject. It's very hard to understand. There's a lot of moving pieces to it, and this is something that we've been trying to do for several years. I use an independent pharmacy, and I know firsthand some of these issues because my pharmacist has had to tell me on certain prescriptions that he couldn't continue to fill them because he was going in the hole. So, and this isn't just a problem here. We see it all across the nation. And we've seen reports from the FTC and others. And so where there's a lot of smoke, there is a fire. And so, and basically, and there is another side, and we hear the business community. And I'd met with the business community. I met with a small PBM. I've met with the Board of Pharmacy, independent pharmacist. I tried to do my homework and circle the whole parameter. I've worked with our federal delegation. I worked with a lot of parties trying to figure out and learn about this to be able to make, an educated decision and, and understand it all. But basically, independent pharmacists are getting paid less than these affiliated pharmacists with these PBMs for the same drugs. And I've had several people say, well, that's capitalism and you need to let the market play out and stay out of it, keep government out of it. But that's not exactly true because with capitalism, you can go to Walmart and buy a lawnmower and you can pay less for it. Walmart can acquire that lawnmower cheaper because they buy a large quantity, which your local hardware store can't. But that local hardware store can charge a little more for it. And you get to decide as a consumer, do I want to pay more for this and support my local business, or is money tight right now and I need to, purchase this from Walmart? You get to make that decision. But the pharmacy doesn't get to do that. Your independent pharmacist can't raise that price enough to cover his expenses. They are setting those prices. So that's not free market. They are putting them out of business and steering to their own pharmacies.
So PBMs play the role of middleman. They are a broker, I suppose, if you will, between the large drug companies and the pharmacies that ultimately are dispensing these drugs to consumers, to patients, to insurance companies. Mm-hmm. How have we gotten to this point? How have we gotten to the point where this was the system that was in place that is so out of balance? Because we know that the three largest PBMs, mm-hmm. and maybe some others, are owned by three of the biggest drug companies, pharmacy companies, distributors of prescriptions as well.
Greed. It started out, as a good thing as a broker, but and it's a complicated, process, but it just got where they were greedy. And so as they acquired, their own pharmacies and stuff, they're just steering everyone to their pharmacies and putting these other people out of business. And so, and that's not okay. It's like a monopoly. And I think these three large PBMs have like 80% of the business. So right. We're putting our mom and pops out of business, and they're the ones in our community supporting Little League. They're the ones that open up during the night. They're the ones that spend a lot of time educating you on your drugs and are just part of your community. And it's not just siding with them. I mean, it's just a matter of right and wrong, and also what the PBMs are doing, they're driving up the cost of the medicine. So what got lost in the conversation was the patient. The patient is paying more for their drugs because of these PBMs.
Visiting with Stacey Wilkes from Mississippi House of Representatives, represents District 108. So you were chair of the Drug Policy Committee, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you are no longer in that role?
Correct.
Tell me, is this simply because of you advocating for PBMs and that legislation not coming to pass, or is there more to that?
Yeah, I guess we just had a difference of opinion on the legislation. I just, and I guess I was just kind of removed from the negotiations and things because we just couldn't get on the same page. But I had done my homework. I got involved with the PBM legislation. The speaker brought me in on it, not this past year, but the year before. And matter of fact, the year before, I had gone to lunch and got a text from him that he wanted to see me because the PBM bill was the next bill up coming to the floor. And so we met, and again, I was new to it at that point, had studied it some, but still was green on it. And he was, really nervous about it because it's a big thing. We don't want to cost any employers money, and they have to pass it on to their employees or eat it. It's a big responsibility. And so he asked me, can you guarantee me that this isn't going to raise rates? And I said, no, sir, I can't. I said, I don't think it will from what I've learned, but I'm still learning a whole lot of this, and I can't. So if you want to let this down the calendar and let me study it through the, till next session and come back with some good legislation that we know will work and we know what we're, responsible with, I'm willing to do that. And so we did. It did come back up later. The Senate amended a bill. They did a strike all and put some language into a bill that Representative Yancey had. And so we came back with it. We ended up killing the conference report because it was weak. But we came back. I spent the out of session visiting, like I said, with, a small PBM. I met with Board of Pharmacy, independent pharmacists. I met with MMA and MEC. Our federal delegation. I've done my homework, and I'm confident on what's going on. And you look at other states, and they're seeing the same things. And West Virginia did some of the same things that we're trying to do. And not only did their rates not increase, they went down. And so one of the things that's getting lost in this conversation is that these businesses not only have, are responsible for it, they have an obligation to negotiate a good contract on behalf of their employees. And I don't think that's maybe necessarily happening because they keep saying if you do NADAC or if you do this, you do that, our rates are going to increase. Well, they don't have to. You need to negotiate a better contract or go to a different PBM. It's not okay to not negotiate a better contract, to just accept what they give you and put another industry out of business. So,
the Speaker has the prerogative to set committee assignments, to set chairs of committees. Did you get an explanation on this, on specifically why you were being removed, or was it just your job to kind of read between the lines?
Just read between the lines. I wasn't told anything, but there's nothing else that's transpired. And look, I disagree with his decision, of course. I was hurt. I've worked really hard in my role since I've became chairman, but, that's his... he has that prerogative to do that, and I've come to terms with it. I've accepted it. I have a good relationship with the Lord, and I trust the Lord, and the Lord allowed this to happen, so there's a reason for it, and so I'm going to do what I've always done. I've only been a chairman for a year and a half, and I've accomplished a lot of things since I was elected in 2017, and so I don't like it, but it's part of it. And so I'm going to continue working for my people. My people elected me. They've been so supportive through this whole thing. I never would have dreamed of the support I would have had. But not only from my community, but from people across this state and people I don't even know. But I stand up for what I believe in. And I know I did my homework on the matter, so I felt confident. And I'm stood up for my people, and so I'm going to continue working for my district. I represent 25,000 people, and so does he. He only represents 25,000 people in his district, and I'm going to work for my people just like he is, and so chairman or not. So even though I don't agree with it, there's work to be done.
Visiting with Stacey Wilkes. She's District 108, Mississippi House of Representatives. Let's kind of spin this forward on the other side of the break. What is the right solution in terms of PBM legislation? Representative Wilkes mentioned West Virginia. We've talked a little bit about the story out of Ohio that has been a success story. Is that a model that makes sense? We're back with you right after this. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
Get it now.
Brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Here we go. Now back to Mornings with Richard Cross.
Now that's entertainment.
Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Glad to be with you. We're visiting with Stacey Wilkes from the Mississippi House of Representatives. District 108 is her home territory, and we're talking about PBMs and some of the advocacy she has had for independent pharmacies here in the state of Mississippi, pushing PBM legislation in Mississippi, but also being removed as chairman of the Drug Policy Committee in the House of Representatives. And so I suppose the larger question is, based on all the work that you've done on this, what do you see as a solution that, one, is good for independent pharmacies? Actually, that shouldn't be one. That should be two. One is good for patients,
Absolutely.
good for end
First
users,
and
for
foremost.
consumers. Two is good for independent pharmacies. And three is also good for the larger business community to make sure that they are not seeing increased rates. Because it feels like you're almost serving three masters with a solution that is good for all of those. So I guess I was going to say that's the larger question.
Correct.
But then also, where have we seen it work? Because the story out of Ohio where they've gone to kind of a single PBM for the entire state seems to have worked, but it kind of flies in the face of some of the conservative principles that we would look at, where you go, look, you don't want more government, you want less government, and this is the government jumping right in the middle of the pharmacy benefit manager conversation.
Right. Well, transparency, that's a big thing, of course, when you have transparency that shows things, and that's good. That's always good for everyone. But I want to go back for just a second, if you don't mind, and talk about last session, talk about the conference report and why the bill ultimately died. In that, and there was a lot of, back and forth, and we won't get through all of that.
This is for the session just concluded,
right? This is the session
right?
that just concluded, yes.
Okay.
So, because we had another bill that made it through the way and came all the way through the conference, and then the conference report died. So it died in the House on a point of order. There were three bad things in that bill. One was a severability clause. And that's common in a lot of bills, but normally the severability clause says if any part of this legislation is found to be unconstitutional, then that part is null and void, but the rest of the legislation stays intact. But this severability clause said if any part of this legislation is found unconstitutional, the whole thing is null and void. So they were wiping out everything if any part of it at all was found unconstitutional. So that was a big problem. The other problem was, and it was already existing language, so this is something that they came in and were taking away, but they were carving out ERISA plans. And as we know, ERISA plans are, laws for that the federal government established for health plans, retirement plans, and things like that. So but by carving out these ERISA plans, they took that out of the steering section. Independent pharmacies were going to lose 70 to 80% of their insurance customers, because 70 to 80% of the customers that they had were ERISA plans. So you're costing them 70 to 80% of their business. Now they're already suffering, and now you're going to take away an additional 70 to 80%. So that was huge. That was a huge hit to independent pharmacists. And then also it had a 3-year repealer. So in 3 years, we would have to come back and pass something all over again, because in 3 years it would just all go away. So those were three things that were detrimental to independent pharmacists. And so that is, those are the three big reasons why the independent pharmacists did not support this legislation, the majority of them, and why the bill didn't make it.
So what's the solution? What's the policy that would do the most good for the most people?
Well, number one is transparency. Like I said, anytime you have transparency, and not just with the PBMs, but anytime you have transparency in government, and you have accountability for that transparency, that's going to be great. That's going to do a lot of good. But the other thing, I think, which this was a concession that the independent pharmacists had to give up, and that was NADAC. And NADAC is the National Acquisition Drug Cost. It's a formula that is used that is not as easily manipulated. It's a more accurate benchmark. And as a matter of fact, in 2017, CMS basically said Medicare and Medicaid, you're going to have to either use this NADAC benchmark or create your own benchmark, because the AWP that they were using, which we're currently using, wasn't working. So when Mississippi switched to NADAC for Medicaid, they're saving over $50 to $55 million a year. And that's after the increased dispensing fee. So it was actually more than that. And then you subtract the increase of dispensing fee, and you're down to saving $50 to $55 million a year. So I think NADAC would have been great, but that was one of the negotiations that independent pharmacists had to give up. So, but when you look at other states, Arkansas, Iowa, Alabama, Louisiana, they've all just recently passed legislation, and most of their stuff, again, transparency, but they're passing the rebates, 100% of the rebates, back to the either insurer or the employer groups, instead of letting the PBMs keep them. And they're stopping the steering, where they can't steer them to their affiliated pharmacies. And another thing that they're doing is they're giving the independent pharmacist a fair appeal process. So when their claims are denied or they don't agree with a reimbursement, that they have a process. So I think those are some things that other states surrounding us have recently done. Arkansas went as far as to ban the PBMs from owning pharmacies in the state. And Louisiana tried that. That failed. They did pass some legislation, but that failed. And the governor, Landry, has hinted that there may be a special session to come back and get tougher, more restrictive legislation for PBMs. So there's a lot out there, like you said, and we want to be fair. The last thing I want to do is increase premiums for anyone. That's the last thing any of us want.
Sure.
But I think when you put transparency out there, I think when you put a model out there such as NADAC that's not easily manipulated, that's more of a true benchmark, and because what you have right now, you have the PBMs, they're manipulating drug prices. So every year when your formulary changes and the medicine you've been getting, suddenly it's not on there anymore. It's because they picked a medicine where it's more profitable. So they're basically playing doctor and saying, this is what we're going to give you, not what your doctor thinks. This is what we want you to have. So I think NADAC actually helps in that. And sorry, I lost my train of thought. The other thing I would say, that as we're going through this and keeping the prices down, I think it's important that that these employer groups negotiate a better contract. It's their obligation to do that for their employees. And if they can't tell the PBM, okay, look at the billions and billions that they make, we're not going to pay that. You're going to have to eat that. And if they say no, great, we'll go find another PBM. All PBMs aren't bad. This past session, I sat down with a guy that owns a small PBM, and a colleague invited me to lunch one day and said, I want you to meet this guy, and he owns a PBM, and I'd like you to meet him and talk to him. He has some concerns. So I said, sure. So there were several of us at lunch, and I'd actually already met the man, and so we talked at lunch, and he was telling me he had some concerns. So the last thing I wanted to do was hurt him, because he's trying to make a living, but he's not trying to hurt independent pharmacists. He's trying to do the right thing. And so I put a group together.
But that's a small player in a big game.
Exactly, because like I said, the three big ones have 80%. So, but anyway, but he's trying to do the right thing. And so I put a round table together, and we went through the legislation, and he pointed out everything that was going to put him out of business, because he said the bill that we had which at that point it was the bill the Senate had, and it was my bill that I had taken with my language and added the speaker's language to it. But he said it would put him out of business. And so we went through there, and he showed us everything. And at the end of it, we were able to address those issues and fix that. Now, did he love the bill at the end? No, but he said he could live with it, that it wouldn't put him out of a business, and he could live with it, because I'm not trying to hurt anyone. But you can't sit here and let one industry, and the PBMs have just fool these employer groups into thinking that their insurance is going up, because these employer groups, a lot of them don't understand all of this. And so they're believing what they're being told. But we've seen it lower rates in other states, and I think they have an obligation to negotiate better contracts.
Last thing for you, you've got less than a minute remaining. Is there an appetite in the House to take this up in 2026? And if the answer to that is yes, what about the Senate and what about the governor?
Absolutely. I hear the governor is. We've texted a little but haven't had a face-to-face about it. But even with this legislation, I would say 75 to 80% of my House colleagues wanted legislation that helps our independent pharmacists. They wanted this legislation to happen. So, and the Senate too. The Senate passed it. The Senate's passed it several times. It's the House that needs to get on board and do what's right.
Stacey Wilkes, Mississippi House of Representatives. Certainly a complicated issue, but one worth continuing to have a conversation about. Thanks so much for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. We'll wrap up the 7 o'clock hour coming up next.
From the Venable Glass.
Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Thanks for joining the conversation on this Tuesday morning, the 17th of June, as we close in on the longest day of the year in terms of daylight, sunshine. That's coming up here in just a couple of days. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. Glad to be with you, and again, my appreciation to Stacey Wilkes for joining us this morning. Lance, every time we go down the road of the PBM conversation, we are reminded how complicated it is, how many players there are, how many issues there are and stuff there is going on. And yet we also leave these conversations reminded that, you know what, we need to figure out a way to fix this. And it feels like that there is a way where PBMs can still make money, rates don't go up, independent pharmacies can be okay, and the end user, all of us, the people that are getting the prescriptions, can avoid paying more money and might even be able to pay less money. But to get to that point, it takes a willingness for everybody to be able to be willing to compromise a little. And the people that are making the most money, which are the large PBMs, aren't really that interested in giving up the golden goose, and so they put their information out, then it seems to leave us kind of stuck with status quo. Is that, I know you've done a lot of research, a lot of work on PBMs. Does that feel like a fair summation?
Yeah, it's just it's a crazy issue with so many layers to it. You know, I don't remember us having these issues before the ACA, and I know there were reasons why the ACA was put into place and to cover those that had not been and were not able to get coverage and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it seems like since the ACA, we've just had a ton of cost increases and some of this middleman stuff, and it definitely needs a solution.
ACA being the Affordable Care Act, which many people have called Obamacare.
Yeah, definitely. I was trying to be
just a reminder
polite.
In case you need it, and the acronyms start running together.
Yeah. So it, I'm not sure that the government and having any kind of ability to negotiate anything through whether it's a PBM or leverage or the promise of lower pricing. I've just never seen any involvement that government has in anything where prices are actually going to go down. Any price controls causes prices to go up. So I guess as somebody that spent a lot of time in finance, anytime you see the government and entities stepping in and saying, we're going to, the prices are going to stay here, that's a red flag for that ain't happening. So I'm with you. It's a complicated issue, and Ms. Wilkes makes a lot of great points and so many layers to that onion. There just is.
And I said to her, I was like, this kind of flies in the face of some of like conservatism principles where you're saying, no, we want less government, not more government. We don't want government to jump in the middle and create or be a middleman. That's never a good solution. The solution they've gone with in Ohio, though, is interesting. When they went to, instead of the current PBM makeup and Medicaid managed care, They hit the reset button and went to a single PBM for the entire program. They got rid of the spread pricing and reinvested some of the savings to help the pharmacies that were hurt in the previous years. They put strict transparency rules and revenue disclosures of any financial benefits. They put those in place. The state PBM has to disclose all conflicts of interest to the Department of Medicaid. If there are pricing disputes, then they seek remedy directly with the Department of Medicaid. The state PBM cannot force patients to use their own specialty pharmacy. The state PBM is required to disclose all drug pricing arrangements and rebate deals with drug manufacturers and distributors, and so on. So
I just don't get
what it did in Ohio. It created $145 million in savings in the first 2 years that it was in place.
You know, in my experience with any type of insurance, I grew up in a family, you know, both parents spent between the two almost 90 years in the insurance business. And yeah, if you look at the other sides of insurance, not healthcare, the larger the pool reduces the risk. And again, if we're going to keep breaking down healthcare based upon a state-by-state basis, the pools are so limited. And Mississippi's 3 million or so, maybe even less. So that, you know, if you aren't allowing people to pool resources, then the costs are always going to go up. I just don't understand 100%. Why we can't break down these barriers that exist between states and allow companies to start writing health insurance across state lines and competing with one another in a fair and honorable way. This ain't it, though.
Ooh, in the words of what some people would say about folks that stand at a pulpit on Sunday mornings, Lance, you done quit preaching and gone to meddling.
I got to meddle every now and again, man.
You've heard that phrase before.
Oh, yeah, buddy. And look, I have a firm belief in this going a long way back, you know, talking through this 10, 15 years ago. So we're dealing with the same issues I saw 10 or 15 years ago coming, and we were seeing them.
Preacher done quit preaching and gone to meddling. Cross state lines. What are you talking about? 8 o'clock hour coming up. We'll start things off with publishing magnate Scott Coopwood right here in the state of Mississippi. It's Mornings with Richard Cross. Thanks for spending part of your day with us.
Ready? Mornings with Richard Cross.
People want to hear the truth, man. That's what we're going to do.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
Just give me life this morning down on Parchment Farm. Just give me life this morning.
Lance going deep cuts this morning as we roll into the 8 o'clock hour on Mornings with Richard Cross. Streaming online at supertalk.fm, SuperTalk TV, and of course on your SuperTalk Mississippi radio stations. Don't forget that you can join the conversation on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. 601-879-4395. In sports and business, having the right team behind you matters. Partner with C Spire today for business solutions from dedicated, certified IT engineers. Learn more at cspire.com. C Spire, inspired by you. Our next guest this morning is Scott Coopwood. You know Scott's name. You recognize that if you read a magazine or a publication in the state of Mississippi. There's a really good chance that Scott Coopwood had something to do with it. Publisher, owner of Delta Magazine, Delta Business Journal, Mississippi Business Journal, and lover of music. Scott, good morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you doing down there?
Doing well. I'm actually in the place where you and I had dinner years and years ago. You may not remember this. I'm in New York this weekend. My daughter is here. Our mutual friend Bill Luckett years ago was up for I think the picnic in the park at Central Park, and we ended up at dinner together. And what a great time a long time ago for a man that loved Mississippi.
You know what? I miss Bill every day. You know, in my view, he is the one that started the Clarksdale Blues movement, of which now thousands of people come to every month. And I think Bill rolled the dice and everyone else followed. And of course, Morgan Freeman was involved with that.
No question about that. Mississippi Business Journal, 40 under 40. We've seen programs like this in other states. We've seen them that are out there nationally. We've seen them in sports. This is something, though, that recognizes some of the outstanding contributions that are happening from younger people in Mississippi. Take us back to when you launched 40 under 40, why you felt the need for this, and what you've seen as a result of kind of bringing recognition to some of the young people who are excelling here at home.
Yeah. I actually bought the Mississippi Business Journal a year ago, and I'm the seventh owner of it. It's 46 years old, and I bought it from the Tupelo newspaper, the folks that own the Tupelo newspaper. So the 40 under 40 thing has been going on for a while, and in fact, for many, many years, in my view, the Mississippi Business Journal has been noted for their events as much as the print edition. And so the first year of ownership, we just wanted to get our feet on the ground with it. So we didn't have any event this past year. So we're going to have the top 40 under 40 June 25th. We'll have one more event in October, and then next year we'll kick the events back in. But the top 40 under 40, as you mentioned, is to salute our up-and-comer young leaders of the state. And I'll say that we took in over 200 entries, and it was extremely tough to choose 40 out of that. I mean, Rich, we could have picked almost all the 200, in fact. And that just shows you that Mississippi has got an incredible crop of young people on the way to becoming the next round of leaders. So we're really excited about the event and all that.
I will. The press release is out, so we're not breaking any news by mentioning some of the winners. There is still some exciting stuff to come, but I'm going to brag on one of our own, and you can feel free to join in. I started filling in before the show transitioned back in February, back in late September. And I'd always had JT Mitchell as a colleague, but we hadn't really worked together. And as I have observed more closely the way he runs the SuperTalk Mississippi newsroom as our news director, the team that he's built there, the content that they're putting out, what an incredibly bright guy. And I'm thrilled to see JT's name on this list. There's no doubt he's got big things in front of him. He's a hard worker, even though he's a Red Sox fan.
Right. Well, number one, JT comes from very good genes as well, and
absolutely.
But he's super young, smart guy, and that's just a great example of where we're headed in Mississippi. He's got a big future, there's no doubt about it.
Give us some highlights out of this year's top 40 under 40 class, because as I read through the list, I mean, I see young professionals, I see people in the media space, I see people in the medical field, I see people in the law field, I see people who are young entrepreneurs. There really is a wide array of people that are represented.
Yeah, it is. It is a wide array of people, and it was again, like I say, it was very tough to choose 40 people, but we did it. And the bottom line is that we looked for people that had really climbed the ladder already in their industries. And next we looked for community engagement. I mean, luckily for me, I've had many mentors along the way, and I still do, by the matter of fact. And so, I think you've got to give back. As you climb the ladder and building your career, you also have to build your community and help build the state. So we look for that too. But just to give you an example of one person that didn't make it because, and unbelievably, they never would call us back. But we have one, without revealing too much, we have one person that started a business 7 years ago, zero income in the business, and that's up to $75 million a year. And that person is in their 30s. So I could just go on and on with those examples. It's just incredible. We think of Mississippi as, that's the poor state. They're at the bottom. No one's smart there, blah, blah, blah. That we just hear it over and over. But when you look at all these entries, it is incredible the smart people we have and the successful young people we have.
Well, and Scott, one of the things that we have heard over and over, and some of our local leaders or our elected officials have talked about brain drain in Mississippi. And I get that it's real, right? You have people that graduate college and maybe they want to experience something else. Maybe they want to live somewhere else. Maybe there's a job opportunity that they can't pass up. But I think this does shine a little bit of a light on, yeah, but not everybody's leaving. We've got people in their 20s and their 30s who are saying, I want to stay in Mississippi. I'm going to make this my home, and I'm going to be successful right here. And so while, yes, there certainly is work to do in continuing to get people to stay in Mississippi and make it their home and their business place, we got some people who are staying and are making a difference.
No doubt about that. You know, when I graduated from Ole Miss, I was one of the young guys that said, I'm going to leave Mississippi and I'm going to do something else. And one of my mentors, back to the mentor thing, said, you know what, I wouldn't do that because you've gone to a large university here in the state without you knowing it. You've already made connections from Tupelo to Gulfport. You need to take that network and figure a way to build a career off of that network. And he was right. And that's part of the secret of my career. So no one should ever think that there's not any opportunity here in Mississippi to build an incredible career. And so I preach that everywhere I go.
Scott, what is driving you at this point in your career? Delta Magazine has been a publication that has been able to watch much of the magazine industry fall away and fail, and yet Delta Magazine has continued to thrive and tells the stories of the people of the Mississippi Delta. You talk about buying Mississippi Business Journal. You've got Delta Business Journal as well. What's pushing you at this point?
Richard, number one, I love what I do. I really do. I love what I do. I love getting up in the mornings, and every day is a new day because I'm in the business of storytelling, whether that's business or lifestyle or whatever. And that is so exciting. We meet so many different people and we cover so many different things in all our publication. And it's just fun, number one, it really is. Number two, it has been a tough business, but thank goodness we have stumbled across a model that works for us. Would it work for others? I don't know. But we have been, fairly successful in everything in regard to print, which many people say that's dying. That's not really true. It may not be profitable like it was 20 years ago because of competition from social media and all that. But there's still a good living to be made in print, and don't think it's not. So I guess and also, Richard, I don't do well with downtime. I will sit on a deer stand and within 20 minutes, I'm livid about something. I'm mad about something, or somebody didn't do that or did come and I forgot to do that. So I don't do well with downtime. I enjoy moving around. I enjoy working. I enjoy going out and meeting people and going to business meetings. So that's really what's driving me. And, I don't ever plan to retire. So many people think I'm almost there, but that's not me. I hope to work to the day I fall dead,
Well, hopefully that's not anytime soon because your contributions to Mississippi are absolutely outstanding. Give us quickly the details before we go to break on the Top 40 Under 40 event. When is it and what do we need to know?
Well, it's going to be held June 25th, 11:30 to 1:30 at the Old Capitol Inn in Jackson. And I must say it is totally sold out, and it's sold out quicker. We have about 260 people coming. We have 33 tables, and our sponsors are C Spire, Bank Plus, Entergy, and SuperTalk. So it's going to be a great event. And of course, the press will cover it, and we're going to film it. It'll be on our website. It'll be on YouTube and all that kind of stuff. So that's nuts and bolts of it.
Fantastic, and we'll keep up with this story. Scott Coopwood, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much, Richard, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
From the Venable Glass.
What are we going to do?
Rise and shine with information and insight.
Check it out.
Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
What you got there?
Don't know why. There's no
weather.
sun up in the sky.
Say again.
Stormy weather.
Etta James, stormy weather.
Since my
Thank you,
man
Etta.
and I ain't together.
Thank you, Etta. Even when I know it anymore, I'm not saying it. I've made a fool of myself on the afternoon so many times, hearing a song that I know, trying to attribute it to a certain artist, and then having them laugh at me uncontrollably for being wrong.
Well, and
I know it's wrong when I say it coming out of my mouth.
Well, and you're at a disadvantage too, because they're sitting there, the ones playing it. They know the
it makes a little difference. Makes a little difference. Thanks to Scott Coopwood. Enjoy the conversation. Top 40, under 40. Kind of cool. That event already sold out, happening June 25th. I want to go back and
I will say this, though, before we move forward. If they had a top million over 50, I probably still would not be in that. So, JT, congratulations, buddy. No, I was just giving him congrats in the hallway earlier. Yeah. JT's a star, man. I was bragging to Coopwood. He said, the Trick's having a great team. I said, oh, yeah, we get to take a lot of credit here for the hard work that Caleb and Ben and JT pull off, and Kelly, too. So thank you guys. Y'all are amazing. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. I was going to mention our entire news team because they really do work well together. Kelly Bennett, Caleb Sailors, and Ben Milam, and JT Mitchell. They put together a good team there. And JT leads that team, and he is very organized, very on top of what's going on. He's passionate about the state of Mississippi. You listen to JT, and I love to give him a hard time on Monday mornings about another American Idol update, or, hey, here's your deadline for, registering to vote in the, the local dog catchers race. But because do not miss that opportunity to vote. And JT reminds you of that all the time. But the truth of the matter is, I'm being completely honest here. I went to our website on a regular basis, but I didn't read our news stories very often prior to kind of being in this role. Because my focus in my previous role was on what was happening from a sports standpoint. Like, I kept up with news, but it was just kind of like here and there. It wasn't like a very locked in. But I have switched my focus to I got to keep up with what's happening all across the state of Mississippi. And JT and the SuperTalk news team do a really, really good job. And it's not just Jackson Metro News. It's North Mississippi. It's Northeast Mississippi. It's the Pine Belt. It's the coast. It's the Delta. It's Central Mississippi. It's all of the parts of the state. They cover it all. And if you don't have supertalk.fm bookmarked, then I would encourage you to do that. And just swing by there in the morning every day. If you're going through news articles and checking up on what's going on, scroll through it. You don't have to read every story, but you can certainly keep up with some of the things that are happening, and a little bit of sports news mixed in there as well. That seems to be an area that Caleb really spends a lot of time, in addition to the news stuff. And there's a lot of good stuff, and we applaud them. Probably don't give them enough credit for the job that they do. So, you think JT would sign an autograph for us?
I'm hoping so. Yeah, and when he, we get him back in here, put a little pomp and circumstance on such an award. That's a big deal, though. I mean, we may downplay stuff.
You're going to play "Hail to the Chief" or something like that when he comes in?
Yeah, "Hail to the Chief" or something, But yeah, that's a great. Anytime you get recognized for being great at something, I've never had that, so I have to imagine that feels pretty good, and I'm proud of him because these are friends of mine. I get to work with them every day. And love Caleb and Ben, too. Great folks to have in the office, and Kelly's a treat. So we really have a great team. And as you said, stop by the website, man. They do such a great job with breaking news. Older stories are archived, and you get sports stuff too. So it's right there for you.
Did you see Sean Duffy, the Secretary of Transportation, in the news yesterday? Man, this was stuff. So there was a press conference in which officials from the city of Los Angeles and the state of California made it abundantly clear that they don't think they should be on the hook for any of the damage done to their city for the protests turned riots that have damaged and defaced their city. And they don't think they should be on the hook because they place the blame squarely on the shoulders, in the lap, at the feet of the President of the United States, Donald Trump. And they say, if he had not sent in the National Guard, we would not have seen an escalation in these protests. We can't call them riots. These mostly peaceful protests, I think that was the correct phraseology, the correct terminology. And it's his fault. I mean, it's his fault that our people were throwing bricks off of overpasses at police cars. It is his fault that, as the chief of the Los Angeles Police Department told us, people were taking backpacks with hammers in them and chiseling away parts of the curb and concrete bollards and breaking those up into throwable sized pieces and putting them in their backpack. It's his fault, Donald Trump's, that companies were staging locations where bricks were being placed out. It's Donald Trump's fault that people were taking cans of spray paint and spray painting the surfaces of anything they could. For what reason? I still don't. I don't understand graffiti, but whatever. And it certainly is his fault that 25 to 50 stores were looted and had goods stolen from them in downtown Los Angeles. All of those things are Donald Trump's fault. If he had not sent in the National Guard, none of this would have happened. And certainly none of it happened before Donald Trump made the decision to send in the National Guard, right? Right.
Oh, no, it was totally, they were all
Donald
sitting at the park.
Donald Trump was just hanging out at the Oval Office one day. There was nothing happening in Los Angeles. There were no people gathering. There was no threat of violence. There was no actual violence. There was no threat to police officers. Trump was just hanging, he was dreaming about where he was going to build his next golf course. He had his feet propped up on the table, and he said, I think what I'm going to do this week is send in the National Guard. I'm going to call up the California National Guard, and I'm going to send them to Los Angeles, and we're going to see if we can't create a situation that is filled with protest, kind of a tinderbox. See if we just can't create a little bit of an explosion. That's how it played out. It's not at all how it played out. Now, if you want to trust the words out of... I have trouble just painting people with the broad brush of a liar. I think that's a fairly significant accusation. If you call someone a liar, I think that's significant. Now, there are a lot of people that don't. But we have reached the point where you can look at Gavin Newsom, you can look at him square in the face, whether you are watching him in a video or you're standing 3 feet from him. You can look at him and point at him and go, you are a liar. And because of your history of repeatedly lying and spinning and making it sound like you're a victim, I can't believe anything that comes out of your mouth. Nothing you say is trustworthy because you lie so much. You can do that with Gavin Newsom. You can do that with Karen Bass. I think you can also look at them and say they're stupid. But that's, maybe that's more of a judgment thing than an actual subjective, you are choosing to not tell the truth. So Sean Duffy, it was a long way around to Sean Duffy. Transportation Secretary saw the claims that California believes, Los Angeles believes the federal government should pay for this, and he goes, Put it on X. The United States Department of Transportation will not fund rogue state actors who refuse to cooperate with federal immigration enforcement. The Trump administration has threatened to cut off various types of funding from states like Maine, California, and others over policy disagreements whether transgender athletes should be allowed to compete in sports. But this issue is pretty simple. Sean Duffy, the USDOT will not fund rogue state actors who refuse to cooperate with federal immigration enforcement, and to cities that stand by while rioters destroy transportation infrastructure. Don't expect a red cent from DOT either. Follow the law or forfeit the funding. That actually doesn't seem like an unreasonable statement to me. Maybe I'm out on planet nowhere all by myself. Kind of seems reasonable. I bet it seems less reasonable to the leaders in Los Angeles. They don't seem to look at the world through the exact same lens that you and I do. More Mornings with Richard Cross after this on Super Talk Mississippi.
From the talk you love.
They really talk about the things that matter. I'm into all that stuff.
Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk Mississippi.
Well, I was born to coal miner's daughter in a cabin on a hill in Butcher Holler. We were poor, but we had love. That's the one thing that Daddy made sure of. He shoveled coal to make a poor man's dollar. My daddy worked all night in the bad little coal mine.
I don't, there are people that think being president of the United States is a glamorous job, and I suppose it is. I mean, it is, if not, certainly arguably the most powerful position in the entire world. I think it's harder than it's ever been to be president of the United States. And, you think about what President Trump's got to juggle right now. You have the situation with Israel and Iran. You have the situation with Russia and Ukraine. You have a ongoing, never-ending situation with China. You have protests that are happening at home. The whole no kings. Has there ever been a bigger gaslighting farce of a protest than no kings? There was one in Oxford on Saturday. I was on the square. I was actually speaking with one of our local law enforcement officials, and I assumed she was a nice lady. She came by and decided to sing to us. She said, "No kings. Trump is not a king."
Yeah, good. Thank you for reminding us.
And I said, "Thank you." And I looked at her and I said, "Ma'am, I'm not a king." She said, "None of us are kings. Only regular people."
This is the stupidest protest ever.
She said, "There are no kings, only regular people." I said, "Well, except in England."
Yeah, and people seem to love all that.
She just kind of went on. I mean,
She's probably one of the ones that watch
glamorize
Downton Abbey and stuff,
We glamorize the monarchy in England like nothing else, but don't you dare talk about a king in the United States. But the idea of a king is someone with absolute power. And if there has ever been an example of a president of the United States that did not have absolute power, hello district courts, hello Congress, hello Supreme Court, it's Donald Trump. And the gaslighting piece of it is it's Democrats who put all of the restrictive mandates that a king would have the ability to put into place on the general population of the United States, far more so than Donald Trump.
Well, and remember, everybody that supported MAGA and Mr. MAGA himself were all Nazis to start with. Now it's a king thing, and just can't make your mind up too much, can you?
Yeah, it's just, what is the message? And look, there were a lot of people that showed up for those protests. I mean, across the country, you had them. They were well organized, I guess. They were well funded. I don't know that they accomplished
just had a catchy
anything.
name. That's all you need nowadays is a marketing tool. Oh, no kings. Oh, yeah, let's go party.
Great, yes, no kings.
No work today.
Let's party. Let's break stuff.
Let's go find construction sites and steal bricks and, have a lot of fun, I guess is what they think.
But there's a lot going on, and there's a lot for Donald. We've talked about the fact that, it's just hard to keep up with the news. I mean, it's hard to keep up with things changing by the minute. And yet Donald Trump's job is not only to keep up, and he's got a lot of people helping him, not only to keep up, but to make decisions that not only shape the future of the United States, but shape the future of the world. And there's no bigger decision hanging over him right now than what does the United States do in terms of this Iran-Israel conflict that's going on, and what are the ripple effects? I mean, if the United States ultimately decides, yes, we are either going to, for you or loan to you, a B-2 bomber to drop a 30,000-pound bunker buster to decimate the nuclear program completely and the enrichment facilities in Iran. But there's one thing that Donald Trump has been consistent on from his campaign, from years ago, from last week, from yesterday, from today. Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. They can't have them. And along those lines, I think Trump actually released this text message that he got from Mike Huckabee, former governor of Arkansas, currently the U.S. ambassador to Israel. How about this text message from Mike Huckabee to Donald Trump? Mr. President, God spared you in Butler, Pennsylvania to be the most consequential president in a century, maybe ever. The decisions on your shoulders I would not want to be made by anyone else. You have many voices speaking to you, sir, but there is only one voice that matters. His voice. Both one and his were capitalized. He obviously was referring to God. I'm your appointed servant in this land and am available for you, but I do not try to get in your presence often because I trust your instincts. No president in my lifetime has been in a position like yours, not since Truman in 1945. I don't reach out to you to persuade you, only to encourage you. I believe you will hear from heaven, and that voice is far more important than mine or anyone else's. You sent me to Israel to be your eyes, ears, and voice, and to make sure our flag flies above our embassy. My job is to be the last one to leave. I will not abandon this post. Our flag will not come down. You did not seek this moment. This moment sought you. It is my honor to serve you. What a message. Mike Huckabee has never been one to shy away from his faith publicly, whether he was governor of Arkansas, as a political pundit in the years following his governorship, or now in this role as ambassador to Israel. I thought it was a pretty powerful message from Mike Huckabee, though, sent to the president. The White House, whitehouse.gov, has a story that's up today. It says, President Trump has always been clear, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And then it cites 56 examples in which he has said that, going back to his previous administration. 2011, we can't allow Iran to go nuclear. 2015, we can't let Iran get a nuclear weapon. We can't do it, we cannot let it happen.
Is there any debate on that amongst anyone other than Iran, though? I mean, has anyone looked at this situation and said, yeah, that's in the greatest interest of the world to give Iran and allow them to have a nuke? When they're sitting there chanting death to America, death to Israel, death to everybody that doesn't think like us, yeah, let's give them a nuke.
And Israel was in this spot where the intelligence, I don't know if Mossad has better intelligence than the CIA, or if they're on the same footing, or they're love-hate partners, or whatever. But there is no questioning the effectiveness of Mossad and the IDF.
Well, the other side of that is, too, we had Obama for 2 terms and Biden for 1 basically cut the CIA and physical intelligence to nothing so we could use drones and other stuff. So Israel didn't do that. They still got boots on the ground agents that are working, and you don't pull off this stuff. And Ukraine didn't pull off what they did by having a little drone fly over and tell them what they think's going on. They have people invested on the ground to get the information they need and get it back to those that can do something and create action, period. We don't do that anymore. We rely on everybody else.
Well, I'm not 100% sure that I agree with that. I think the CIA
we're back a little bit.
But yeah, there's no doubt that it's different than it has been. No doubt about that. The 2 biggest operations that we have seen from the Israelis and Mossad in the last 6 months, year, are two of the most diabolical, well thought out, well planned, long term operations that you ever could imagine from an intelligence organization. The whole beeper situation where they took out the Hamas leaders through their communications devices, and then this initial onslaught of Iran where they smuggled in weapons, bombs. They clearly infiltrated the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. They were operating a drone base station within the borders of the country. I mean, this is like James Bond on steroids stuff. And I realize that is completely underplaying and underselling what they actually accomplished.
Yeah, I want to see Israel's Q. I want to see the guy that's inventing all this stuff.
Yeah, man, it's it really is incredible, and it doesn't feel like this situation is cooling at all. And yet, Donald Trump, to his credit, has continued to say, "Yeah, you could," although these words may be a little hollow. We can negotiate a peace deal. There's still a deal to be made. But he's also pointed out that the time for deals is probably in the rearview mirror. You had 60 days. You didn't negotiate in good faith. You were just trying to kick the can down the road. You can't have a nuke. You can't have a nuke. You can't have a nuke.
From the Venable Club.
Coffee, conversations, and clarity. What a great way to start your Mississippi day. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
I'm going, baby, there, going to Memphis, see that what is there. I'm going, know my baby there.
Thanks for being with us as we wrap up the Tuesday edition of Mornings with Richard Cross. Thanks for being with us. Don't forget you've got coverage all day long right here on Super Talk Mississippi. Gerard will be along at 10 o'clock this morning. Rebecca at 2, and then Sports Talk Mississippi this afternoon at 3. Hey Dad's off this week, so you got Michael Borky and Robbie Falk in place. Let me push anything about Minnesota to tomorrow. I want to end on a light note. You okay with that?
Man, I am fine with whatever you want to do.
Competitive eater Joey Jaws Chestnut announced yesterday that he will return to compete in this year's Nathan's famous 4th of July hot dog eating contest after skipping last year's gastronomic battle for the coveted mustard belt. 41-year-old Joey Chestnut said yesterday in a post on X, "This event means the world to me. It's a cherished tradition, a celebration of American culture, a huge part of my life." It's the 20th appearance for the Indiana Eater at the Coney Island contest. Last year, Major League Eating event organizer George Shea said that Chestnut, who has won the 10-minute eat-a-thon 16 times, would not be participating due to a contract dispute. Chestnut had struck a deal with a competing brand, the plant-based meat company Impossible Foods. In a phone interview yesterday, Joey Chestnut made it clear he never appeared in any commercials for the company's vegan hot dogs, and that Nathan's is the only hot dog company that he has worked with. But Chestnut acknowledged that, quote, he should have made that more clear with Nathan's, close quote. How about this? There was a little bit of communication that we could have improved on last year, and I think we figured it out. It took a little bit of finessing. Joey Chestnut, Lance, holds the record of eating 76 hot dogs in 10 minutes.
Yeah, he also 32.5 grilled cheese sandwiches in 10 minutes. He also had a breakout performance in 2005 at a deep-fried asparagus eating championship, and I definitely would not have wanted to ride home with him after that. And then he also defeated Thomas in the Waffle House championship. He also ate 56 Crystal Burgers in 8 minutes, and then he also, I think he had 67 at some other point. He also ate 97 hamburgers, or 91 in a final, and Kobayashi beat him with 97. I mean, I can't even imagine that. But the deep-fried asparagus, that's the one that got me. That's where he had a breakout.
Chestnut said, I'm really happy that Nathan's and Major League Eating, we were able all to figure it out. And says that he's been prepping for the big event, has a couple of practice sessions left before the July 4th holiday. This was the quote from Joey Jaws Chestnut. My body's in tune right now. He was explaining how he had to build tolerance for consuming so many hot dogs and, quote, get all those muscles used to working together, close quote. Liken the process to a boxer getting in practice rounds before a big fight.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would, pair those two up. But watching them eat hot dogs, it's a battle. That hot dog does not want to go down there easy, and it's more of a shoving with a bunch of water.
Yeah, I had I had a Nathan's dog at the stadium last night.
Ooh.
Just one.
Yeah.
And I ate it. I did not feel the need to moisturize it before shoving it down my throat. I just ate it in bites like normal people do.
You didn't just douse it in a beer and eat it.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Yeah. I mean, you watch it and it's like, I enjoy a hot dog. I don't know if I'm a hot dog connoisseur, but I like hot dogs.
I love a hot dog.
The idea of taking it and dipping the hot dog and the bun into a cup of water so that I can basically swallow it whole. Oh.
And Thomas, thank you for that. I'm not going to read that on air, but that was a good one. Yeah, I just couldn't. I don't know, man. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the work he has been able to do, but yeah, I'm gonna be a fan from afar here. That's not a sport I'm picking up. But wow, man, watching those guys, it's definitely
this
makes
is disgusting.
You.
Somebody said the worst is the mayonnaise eating competition.
Yeah, it's brutal. Oh.
I like mayonnaise on a sandwich, man. Yeah. It says 112 ounces in 3 minutes.
Oh, Lordy!
Apologize for the involuntary gag reflex I just created across the state of Mississippi.
The anti-mayonnaisers they're driving off the road right now.
Ooh, me. Thanks for being with us. My appreciation to our guests this morning, both Scott Coopwood from Mississippi Business Journal, Delta Magazine, Delta Business Journal, and also for the PBM conversation with Representative Stacey Wilkes. Enjoyed that very much. We're back with you tomorrow morning just after 6 a.m. Until then, we hope you have a wonderful day. For Lance, I'm Richard. This is Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
A Super Talk Mississippi media production.